So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round the 642 for 600 divided by 5. I'm going to keep my 5, okay? And I'm going to start by doing 60 because I know 60 divided by 5 is equal to 12. Awesome. And then I'm left with my 0 for the unit position. 0 divided by 5 is equal to 0. So now I add these two together, and that gives me 120. So 642 divided by 5 will be equal approximately to 120. Okay, now I'm going to use manipulatives with the blocks to help me to solve 642 divided by 5. Here I represented each of my 5 sets. So I'm going to see if I can place any of these 100 in each of the sets. So let's begin. And the 1 is going there. 1 can fit here. So I'm left with 1. I know this one wouldn't possibly go in my sets, so I'm going to have to trade the 100 for 10s. Okay, so now I just traded 100 for 10 10s. So total, I am at 14 10s. Let's see if I can place any of those 10s in my sets. So we have 5, I'm going to try it with. And now I know that my 4 initial 10s are not going to fit in each of the sets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade each of those 10s for units, for ones. So that gives me 10, 20, 30, and 40. So now I am at 42 units. I know for sure that the 4 is going to be in each of the groups. Okay, and now I'm left with 22. So I know that 20 divided by 5 will be equal to 4 again each. And again, I am left with my 2 initial ones. What can I do? Can I break it down? Can I exchange it to place them in each of the sets? Well, unfortunately, no. Let's see how many I have for each of my set. So now I have 100. I know I have 1, 2, so 20, 120. 4 plus 4, 8, 128. So that gives me 128 for each of my sets with a remainder of 2. Okay, now let's see if I can solve 642 divided by 5 using pictorial representation as well as symbolic representation. 642. I'm going to write down in my equation here, so I know that I'm working with 642. And they are also separated in terms of their place value, so 100, 10s, and 1s. Okay. For each of my 5 sets, I had 100 that will go evenly in it. So what I'm going to do is, for the place value of the 100, I will say that I use 100 for each 5. So 5 times 1 is equal to 5. So I know that I use 500 from my 6. So 6 minus 100, that wouldn't go possibly evenly in each of my 5 sets. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trade my 100 for 10s. So now I am with 10 10s plus my 4 10s. So if I add these two together, so I know that I can work with the right number. 10 plus 4 is equal to 14 10s. So now I know that I'm working with 14 10s. To see how many 10s will go evenly in each of my 5 sets. So I find that I was able to place 2 10s in each of my sets. So here I'm going to write it down in my 10s place. So I use 2 10s for each set. So 2 times 5, I use total 10 10s. So I want to know how many 10s am I left with. 14 subtract 10. So 14 take away 10 is equal to 4. So now I'm left with 4 10s that can possibly go in each of my sets. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my 4 10s and I'm going to trade it for 1s. 40 1s and plus my 2 initial 1s. So I have 42 1s. So now I'm going to write down here in my 1s place value. So 40 plus 2. So I am at 42 1s. And now I want to know how many 40 of my 42 1s can possibly go in each of my sets evenly. I was able to place 8 1s in each of my sets. So I'm going to write it down here. So I use 8 1s per set. And I want to know how many 1s I use. So I will do 8 times 5 is equal to 40. And that way I can find how many 1s am I left with. So 42, my initial 42 1s, take away 40. I am left with 2 1s. And these 2 1s can possibly go in each of my sets. So that's going to give me a reminder. So I know now that 642 divided by 5 is equal to 128 with a reminder of 2. Okay, now I'm going to use a personal strategy to solve 642 divided by 5. I know that 5 times 100, so the factor would be 100, is equal to 500. So that's the closest number that comes to mind. I know I'm not quite there, but I'm not over 642. So now 642 subtract 500. I'm left with 2, 4, and 1, 142. So now I'm trying to think about a number that will multiply by 5 that is close or nearby 142. And the one I have in mind is 25, the factor. So 25 times 5 is equal to 125. And I'm going to do the subtraction. So I know that 2 subtract 5 you can't. 3, so I'll take 1 here. 12 and 5, 7. 1, nothing here. Okay, so what would be a quotient that is near 17? So 5 times 3 is 15. And I'm left with 2. And I know that 2 can possibly go in 5. So that would be a reminder. And now to know what is 642 divided by 5, I add these 3 factors. And that gives me 20 and 100. So 128 with a reminder of 2.